The shaded corner of your yard has probably been dismissed for years. That quiet strip beneath a fence line, the ground under a large tree canopy, or the raised bed that receives only a few hours of sunlight each day, often gets labelled as, well, unusable. Most gardeners assume vegetables need blazing sunlight from morning to evening to survive. When plants struggle in those dim areas, the conclusion feels obvious. Nothing edible grows there. That assumption has quietly wasted thousands of productive garden spaces. Shade is not a gardening problem. Shade is a microclimate. And once you understand how that microclimate works, those overlooked parts of your yard can become some of the most reliable food-producing areas in the entire garden. Cooler soil, slower evaporation, and gentler light create conditions that many crops actually prefer. Certain leafy vegetables grow sweeter in shade. Some roots develop better texture when they are not rushed by heat. A few long-lived crops even thrive in these calmer environments and produce harvests for years. Today on Evergreen Garden Life, we're uncovering the plants that transform partial shade from wasted ground into a steady food supply. If you enjoy practical gardening guides that help you grow more food with less effort, take a moment to like the video, share it with another gardener, drop a comment about the shadiest spot in your yard, and subscribe to the Evergreen Garden Life channel. New guides arrive regularly to help you build a more productive and resilient garden. Now let's get into the science behind shade gardening and why it works far better than most gardeners expect. Most vegetables are categorized as full sun crops, but that classification often ignores what happens to soil during intense summer heat. In direct sunlight, exposed garden beds regularly reach surface temperatures well above what plant roots prefer. When soil overheats, root systems slow down dramatically. Water evaporates faster, and many leafy crops respond by turning bitter or prematurely producing flowers. Partial shade changes that equation. Garden beds receiving roughly 2 to 5 hours of sunlight per day maintain cooler soil temperatures. These conditions stabilize moisture levels and reduce stress on delicate root systems. Instead of constantly struggling against heat, plants grow at a slower, steadier pace. Now, that slower growth might sound like a disadvantage, but actually it usually produces better harvests. Leaves stay tender for longer, roots develop more evenly, and, well, the productive life of cool-season vegetables can extend weeks beyond what they would achieve in full sun. Once gardeners understand this shift, shaded beds suddenly become valuable real estate. You know, some of the most productive shade crops belong to the leafy green family. These plants evolved to grow quickly with relatively low energy demands, which makes them ideal for garden spaces receiving limited sunlight. Spinach is, I suppose, one of the most familiar examples. When grown in intense sunlight, spinach often bolts rapidly as temperatures rise. But in partial shade, cooler soil delays that bolting trigger, allowing the plants to produce harvestable leaves for several additional weeks. Gardeners who plant new rows every couple of weeks can, maintain a continuous spinach harvest well into early summer. Leaf lettuce actually performs even better under these conditions. Because lettuce grows quickly and has such shallow roots, it requires less energy from sunlight than many vegetables. In shaded beds, the leaves remain softer and noticeably sweeter. Instead of becoming bitter during warm weather, the plants continue producing tender salad greens for a much longer season. Arugula offers yet another advantage in shade gardens. The sharp, peppery flavour associated with arugula comes from compounds that intensify under strong sunlight and heat stress. In partial shade, those compounds develop more slowly, producing leaves with a milder, more balanced taste that works beautifully in salads. While leafy greens dominate most shade gardens, several root crops also benefit from lower light conditions. Radishes are a perfect example. In hot, sunny beds, they often grow too quickly, producing hollow or overly spicy roots. Shaded soil maintains steadier moisture and cooler temperatures, allowing radishes to develop evenly. The result is, crisp, tender roots with far better flavour. Beets also respond well to partial shade. Although they mature slightly slower, the roots tend to grow more consistently without the woody texture sometimes caused by heat stress. At the same time, the leafy beet greens remain softer and more suitable for cooking or salads. This dual harvest makes beets especially valuable for shaded garden beds. Some plants go beyond simply tolerating shade and actually turn these areas into long-term food sources. Swiss chard stands out as one of the most reliable producers. Because it is a biennial plant, a single planting can generate harvestable leaves for up to 2 years when harvested properly. By removing only the outer leaves and leaving the central crown intact, the plant continuously pushes new growth from the centre. Kale offers a similar advantage, When harvested gradually, individual plants can actually produce leaves for many months. And interestingly, shade often improves the eating quality as well, reducing bitterness and keeping the leaves more tender during warm weather. Perennial crops bring even greater longevity. Rhubarb, for example, can remain productive for decades once established. In warmer climates, shaded conditions actually extend the lifespan of the plant by protecting it from heat stress. Another fascinating perennial is the Egyptian walking onion. Instead of producing seeds, these onions form small bulb clusters at the top of their stalks. When the stalk bends to the ground, the bulbs take root and form new plants nearby. Over time, the patch slowly spreads across the garden, creating a nearly maintenance-free source of edible onions for many years. The biggest lesson from shade gardening is that sunlight is not the only factor that determines productivity. Microclimates within your yard create opportunities that standard gardening advice often overlooks. Shaded beds hold moisture longer, protect delicate crops from heat, and extend the growing season for many vegetables. With the right plants, those areas can supply steady harvests when full sunbeds begin to struggle. So, before writing off that quiet corner beneath a tree or the narrow strip beside a fence, take another look. With thoughtful planting choices, those overlooked spaces can quietly become some of the most dependable food-producing areas in your entire garden. If this guide helped you see shaded spaces in a new way, support the Evergreen Garden Life channel by liking the video, sharing it with fellow gardeners, and subscribing for more practical gardening strategies. Your garden might already have the perfect growing conditions. You just need the right plants to unlock them.